$100 million settlement for victims of a school abuse case. We're talking about students basically kidnapped, handcuffed, malnourished, starved, and more. Put up the picture of the institution. I got names, I got pictures, I got background. I got a lot. A possible record settlement was reached in a child abuse case against the now permanently closed Miracle Meadows School in Salem, West Virginia. Attorneys for the victims announced Wednesday the settlements total $100 million after years of litigation. It is believed to be a record amount for such a case in the state. The civil case was initially filed in 2017, and these details are going to be gruesome. And nearly all cases were consolidated under a case that was settled in 2020 for $52 million. The case with the $100 million settlement wrapped up Wednesday, according to a press release from the law firm representing the plaintiffs. There are also additional cases that are still pending. The victims that attorneys Guy DeAndrea of Laffey, Butchie and Kent, LLP, Jesse Forbes of Forbes Law Offices, PLC, and Scott Long of Hendrickson and Long, PLLC, represent are now adults. Miracle Meadows School was a Christian boarding school that purported to serve children ages 7 to 17 who had behavioral or educational issues. Some had learning disabilities. Hundreds of students experienced horrifying and extreme mental, sexual, and physical abuse during the school's operation between 1987 and 2014, the release said, including being handcuffed, chained, and shackled to beds, kept in small isolation rooms for months at a time, forced to sleep on concrete floors, and use coffee cans in place of bathrooms, sexually assaulted, deprived of medical care, starved, malnourished, forced to perform manual labor, and beaten routinely. Put them up. The school was forced to shut down in August of 2014. Remember, they've been in operation since 1987. They were forced to shut down after a teacher, that guy, Timothy Arrington, was arrested after being accused of choking and handcuffing a student. School administrator, let's put her up, Susan Gail Clark, keep her picture up, was handed several charges after an investigation. She actually pleaded guilty to child neglect, creating risk of bodily injury, failure to report, and obstructing an officer, and was sentenced to only 6 months in jail, 5 years probation. The Harrison County Sheriff's Department also uncovered sex abuse and physical assault at the school during their investigation. Meanwhile, in the 5 years leading up to the school's closing, Miracle Meadows had been named in more than a dozen complaints of abuse and mistreatment. Such complaints to the state are typically forwarded to the local prosecutor. Put her up. Per the Associated Press at the time. Harrison County Assistant Prosecutor Patricia Dettori said substantiating the complaints over the years had been difficult, in part because many students were from out of state. Keep her face up. Ma'am, I have a theory here, and granted, it is my personal opinion. I think you didn't give a damn about these students because their parents weren't connected to your voter base. And because their parents were not connected to your voter base, you did not do your job to make sure justice was served against criminals in your jurisdiction and standing up for the victims who were children. She said the children either were taken out of school or recanted their allegations, while many members of the school staff were from other countries on religious work visas and would abruptly leave if accused of wrongdoing. Once again, any prosecutor worth their weight would have been able to work through the nuances of that, because you have something really powerful. It's called subpoena power. You go to a judge, you say, this is what's happening. It is intimidation of victims, and I need them here because this school has to close down now. Since 1987, it was allowed to operate in this manner. Can you imagine the number of victims from 1987 until 2014? Every system operator, I'm talking about prosecution, police, investigators, you all have this on your hands too. All right, Jordan, thoughts here?
I mean, this is the type of grooming and attacks and harm caused to children that the right likes to pretend, the LGBTQIA plus community perpetrates, which is not true. I mean, time and time again, we've seen religious groups, in this case, a religious school, but members of the clergy, the Catholic Church or other pastors, they're more often than not the ones doing this. And we don't see a fraction of the focus that, accounts like Libs of TikTok or Mothers for Liberty, all of these right-wing fringe groups who lead these mobs to harass unsuspecting, innocent school teachers, they will never direct their anger here. We're gonna single out teachers, we're gonna single out members of the LGBTQIA plus community, it's trans athletes. Oh, the Catholic Church with decades and decades of abuse that they knew was happening and covered up. Church schools like this, members, youth pastors all over the country, not a problem. We're gonna focus on the LGBTQIA plus community. Well, meanwhile, kids are actually being harmed.
Yep.
If you're really concerned about this, there you go. There's your perpetrator. Go after them. No, it is to target the members of the LGBTQIA plus community to create division and ultimately a political wedge issue. They really don't care about the well-being of kids.
That's right. That's why we got to get better leaders in local office in particular.